Professor, first, let's take the take of CHED on this matter of the abrogation of the UP-DND Accord. You, of course, were formerly Vice President of the University of the Philippines. What is CHED's take on this? And your personal take, sir?
Yeah, I issued an official statement already this morning, and I said that I've been a faculty member of UP for close to 3 decades already. 5 years as Vice President, and now almost 4 years as Chair of the Board of Regents. And I asserted that the implementation of the DND-UP Accord was destined to be problematic from the very start. And that is the reason why all these accusations and contentions and attacks on either side is happening. Because the accord does not have clear and detailed operational guidelines. It contains basic principles. But how do you operationalize that on the side of both the UP and the DND and the security sector? There is no clear operational guidelines, and the accord talks of a joint monitoring group composed of representatives of the UP administration, regents, AFP, and PNP to regularly meet so that they can look at the implementation of the accord and look if there are violations, etc. I don't think such a joint monitoring group actually exists.
Okay, Professor, two things there. No? First is, shouldn't it then therefore proceed from addressing what's already there? For example, that joint monitoring group. You were Vice President for so many years. You're chair of the, you're there on the Board of Regents. Napansin nyo pala na ano, then shouldn't that be the first simple thing to intervene on? Huy, implement natin yung joint monitoring group.
I raised this issue when I was chair of CHED about 2 years ago. But I was rebuffed even by members of the Board of Regents. I called for a review of the accord. And they attacked me saying that I am trying to put, police forces inside the campus. I have been aware of this problem for some time. But the board did not take it up.
No, but let me take it to another level. I mean, not just the level of you, as you said, calling for a review, but your statement that this was destined to be problematic. During your time in the administration, in time, maybe you could give us some concrete examples of when the DND, state enforcement agents, whether the military or the police, went to UP and said, we need to do something, and UP rebuffed them and rejected them. Maybe, sir, you could give us an example of how problematic and how difficult it is, if there are, in fact, such examples.
Okay, I'll give you an example. When you say that the UP campus must be free from any law enforcement agency to come inside the campus, I'll give you an operational problem. What is the definition of UP campus? Is it UP campus bounded by CP Garcia, Katipunan Avenue, Commonwealth, and University Avenue? Or is UP campus the whole UP campus, including 25 hectares of Cruz Naligas, all the way to the police station in Katuna, all the way to Arboretum?
Okay. No, good point. But let me just be clear. Are you raising this as a hypothetical, and you're asking us to engage you in a hypothetical question? Because you've said this is destined to be problematic. My question is, go beyond hypothetical. Give us a concrete example on when it was already problematic. Was it ever a problem when you were in the administration?
No, Lobby. It's not hypothetical. It is real.
Oh, so give us an example of when that question of jurisdiction became a problem for the PNP or the military to exercise its mandate.
What do you mean? How can it be problematic if both sides have different definitions? How will you determine whose position is correct if both sides don't have an agreed premise when they discuss? One side might accuse the other of not doing it, but you cannot determine whose side is correct Because number one, there are no operational guidelines. Number two, there is no joint monitoring system.
Okay, I get your point. I'll just be quick about why I'm trying to, I'm not trying to stress any point, and then I'll defer to Ami who has many questions as well. Ang point ko lang po is, meron po bang example? Because the DND is saying this is holding us back. And you're saying this is destined to be problematic. And our question to the DND and the police, and now to you, is we're open to that hypothetical, that it could be problematic. But if you could take this to a level beyond the hypothetical and say na, I remember nung nasa UP ako, halos isang dekada ako opisyal doon. Natatandaan ko, naging problematic to. Can you give us an example of when this became an inconvenience and, in the word of DND Secretary, a hindrance to their operations? Just one example.
Well, you'll have to talk to the DND to give details because they are the ones saying that hindrance.
And that's why I'm asking the question, because unfortunately, DND has not given a concrete example of when, and you were UP Vice President and BOR member. So maybe you would have a better chance of giving us a concrete example, because DND has not.
Okay, I'll give you a concrete example. Who is responsible for enforcing basic law and order and police operations in the UP campus outside of the academic core? Okay, who's going to do patrols, for example, in Cruz Naligas and all the way to the area of the UP housing and the Arboretum?
You are saying, look, there are operational problems. Let's address the operational problems. Shouldn't that be the message to the DND?
No, no. The more fundamental problem is definitional, not just operational.
Okay, then let me be more precise. Then shouldn't the message then be to the DND, whether it's operational or definitional, wag muna abrogation. We can talk about the definition, we can clarify certain things. UP has said, and this is the message of UP President Danilo Concepcion, usap po muna tayo. Shouldn't that be the message? What we're trying to get your opinion on was the DND too rash in immediately saying that their only option is to abrogate the accord?
Well, the bigger question, Roby, is definitional, which you translate into operational. The whole problem of defining what is academic freedom first has to be defined. And what is the role of security forces in ensuring that the constitutional requirement for academic freedom and protecting students is framed within an academic setting? That is where consensus must be first met. And if there is consensus, then that is when you let both sides define the operational way of implementing the consensus.
But when you seek to define academic freedom, aren't you also identifying a point at which a slippery slope starts? When you look at the Bill of Rights of the Philippines, everything that pertains to our rights are laid down in terms of the negative. No law shall be made, and so on. We don't need to define our rights, certain rights, but what is clear is that no law shall be made abridging these fundamental rights. Aren't you going into a dangerous exercise by saying, define muna natin ang academic freedom?
But what is the other option, Roby, if you don't define? At what point can agreements and operational guidelines be framed?
Yes, but Professor, this is where we get to the point of, we're precisely trying to give you a fair shake here by saying, cite us when it became a problem, because to your point that this is something that hypothetically can be destined to become a problem, as you said, it's been here for 30 years. That hypothetical problem has never come up. It has never been a major issue. There have been so many secretaries of defense, so many regimes, so many governments, each government, UP students calling for their ouster, and no state, no government has ever felt so insecure as to abrogate this. This has never been a problem. That goes, the 30 years of history of the UP-DND Accord weighs heavily against your theory that this is destined to be problematic. Wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely not. That is your opinion. You're entitled to it. That is not my position. My position is in an academic setting, not just UP, but all the public universities. Rules must be defined within an academic setting on how to protect the exercise of academic freedom, how to ensure that the laws of the land are enforced, and how the interest of the students should be protected, not just in UP, but more than 100 state universities. And the core of it, and what everybody is raising, is the concept of academic freedom. Unfortunately, you have several definitions. There is a Supreme Court definition. There's a definition by some faculty members of UP. They don't agree.